Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Unlimited, U.S. House Transportation Committee passes AIRR Act, FAA NOTAM opens model aircraft flying in the Washington, D.C. area, Grumman Avengers plan to meet in April. I'm Bree Cross, it's February 15th, 2016, and this is Airborne Unlimited. Last Thursday, the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee approved legislation that establishes an independent, not-for-profit corporation outside of the federal government to modernize America's air traffic control system and provide air traffic services. The Aviation Innovation Reform and Reauthorization, known as the AIRR Act, reauthorizes the FAA, provides a number of reforms to our aviation system, and upholds the FAA's role as the nation's aviation safety regulator. The bill also streamlines the FAA's aviation equipment and aircraft certification processes, provides additional improvements for consumers, addresses aviation safety issues, gives the FAA more tools for the safe integration of unmanned aircraft systems, and provides for airport infrastructure improvements. The argument put forth by the House committee supporting privatization of the ATC is that the FAA has been unable to manage the modernization process of the ATC system and that a private corporation would get the job done. While this is supported by many airlines, major components within the aviation industry have put forth strong arguments against ATC privatization. During his barnstorming commentary last Friday, ANN CEO and Editor-in-Chief Jim Campbell expressed grave concern for the welfare of general aviation if ATC privatization becomes law. Last week, the FAA announced changes in the rules for the Washington, D.C. Special Flight Rules area that allows a softening of restrictions being applied to model aircraft flyers. Dave Mathewson, Executive Director of the Academy of Model Aeronautics, said in part, quote, "We are pleased that after weeks of working closely with the AMA and our local chartered clubs, the FAA today updated the conditions for flying unmanned aircraft in the Special Flight Rules area surrounding the DC metropolitan area. The permanent notice to airmen published by the FAA allows our members to resume flight inside the DC SFRA. Mathewson also thanked the FAA for working closely with the AMA to allow the 14 AMA chartered clubs in the area to return to flying their model aircraft. Mathewson added, quote, "However, it is critically important that everyone wishing to fly inside the Special Flight Rules area abide by the conditions established for the area and continue to follow the safety guidelines." After the break, Avenger warbirds gathering in mid-April.
Concorde's recombinant gas RG series sealed battery technology produces a high-performance battery with the advantages of being pre-tested and fully charged at the factory. Find out more about Concorde's entire line of batteries at www.concordebattery.com. Concorde, the heart of your aircraft.
There's a difference between charting a steady course and pushing for the ceiling. And for nearly a century, Hartzell Propeller has been defining that difference. It's in our passion for engineering and research and our dedication to testing the limits of performance. We are built on honor. We are Hartzell Propeller.
Welcome back. If you would like to be a supporter of Airborne Unlimited, send an email to jim@aero-news.net. An event for owners of Grumman TBM Avenger aircraft is being planned for mid-April at Illinois Valley Regional Airport. At least 9 of the airplanes are currently expected to attend. Warbird News reports that the event is being planned by Brad Deckert, the owner of TBM Avenger LLC. A forum for owners and operators will be held on Friday, April 15th, which will include a presentation on maintaining the Curtiss-Wright R2620 engine that powers the airplane, as well as an open discussion among owners and operators of mutual concerns about keeping the aircraft flying. Several weekend events are planned that will be open to the public. Attendees will get to see the airplanes close up, and flying demonstrations are planned as well, and the local EAA chapter will be selling lunches to those who attend. The British Avenger was the heaviest single-engine aircraft used in World War II and was highly successful in its role as a torpedo bomber. Each week, we share with you an online video that one of our viewers found especially entertaining. We call it our Aero Video of the Week.
Final liftoff of Atlanta.
The PJ-2 Dreamer is an unusual ducted fan experimental airplane that has a plan form of a military fighter. In this video, you'll see an over-the-wing camera record its test flight and the odd sound it creates. Search Test Flight of PJ-2 Dreamer on YouTube. After these messages, public memorial service planned for Jeff Pino.
Redbird Flight Simulations is dedicated to revolutionizing flight training by designing, manufacturing, and delivering affordable and innovative flight training technologies. Each Redbird device is designed to enhance the training experience for pilots of all levels, from student to ATP. Redbird is quickly becoming the industry standard for flight training. Since Redbird introduced its revolutionary FMX in 2007, colleges, universities, and flight training operations around the world have integrated Redbird products into their curriculum. It's time to discover what Redbird can do for you. Join the migration.
Sandia introduces the new SAI 340 Quattro TSO'd airspeed, attitude, altitude, and slip. With integral backup battery, safety never looked so good. See it now at www.sandia.aero.
Welcome back. With so much news coming out of the aviation industry, we're summarizing some other interesting stories in a brief segment we call Around the Patch. The family of Jeff Pino, who perished in the crash of his P-51 last week, are planning a private family memorial service, and others are planning a public tribute. A Jeff Pino Foundation has been founded that will support numerous good works. The Packwood, Washington airport has been closed since an accident in October of last year after a home-built airplane hit a sinkhole in the runway. A multi-million-dollar project to rebuild the runway is expected to begin this summer. Authorities have filed additional charges against a Greenville, North Carolina man accused of flying a quadcopter drone near a medical helicopter over a helipad last month. The additional charges are said to be related to alleged witness intimidation. The FAA has proposed 7 civil penalties totaling $455,000 against DHL Express for allegedly violating hazardous material regulations. The FAA alleges the company accepted shipments that were not properly prepared for air transportation and failed to meet training requirements. The General Aviation Manufacturers Association grows as they welcome 4 new companies as members. They are Astronautics Corporation of America, Bloomington Corporate Holdings, Click Bond, and Honda Jet. 8 other companies and organizations became GAMA's first associate members. Well, that's the trip around the patch. Now let's move on to the rest of the news. One of a slew of amendments to the FAA Reauthorization bill, that's the same bill we discussed in our first report today, is one offered by Congressman Rodney Davis that would create a new class of micro UAS that would be subject to fewer restrictions than larger unmanned aircraft. Under Davis's amendment, a micro UAS would be any UAV weighing 4.4 pounds or less, including payload. To qualify for the less stringent regulations, it would have to be flown at an altitude under 400 feet during daylight hours, within the visual line of sight of the operator, and not exceed a speed of 40 knots. A commercially flown micro UAS operated in accordance with the amendment would not require an FAA certificate of authorization or waiver, and the operator of the micro UAS would not be required to pass any aeronautical knowledge test or meet any age or experience requirements. The amendment would also stipulate that a micro UAS and its component parts and equipment would not be required to meet airworthiness certification standards. Well, that's our program for today. Remember to get comprehensive real-time 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. Remember that Airborne Unlimited is streamed daily Monday through Friday, with additional breaking news bulletins for important stories that fall outside of our normal deadlines. Please join us and a growing roster of over 100 outstanding industry associations and organizations every weekday for the best in aviation and aerospace news from the staff of the Aero-News Network, the aviation world's most comprehensive news and information resource.